Can you imagine if this COVID vaccine was rushed out under Robert Kennedy Jr.? Can you imagine, would there be gaslighting of all of the injured that were coming forward? Do you think that those that were in the trials, like Maddie Daguerre or Bree Dressen, that when they were reaching out to the FDA, do you think Robert Kennedy Jr. would allow Peter Marks to not listen to their calls? Well, that is the heart of a new documentary about one of the greatest cover-ups, the largest censorship and gaslighting of a vaccine-injured group we have ever seen. It's a brand new documentary by Matthew Guthrie, Follow the Silenced. Take a look at this.
Maddie?
The first question was, why isn't the United States looking in our own backyard for our data?
Madeline? Hey, honey, it's Daddy.
But they were. They just weren't telling us what it said.
Maddie? 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 Hey, what's the matter?
I need to take this out. Help. I need this out. I can't do it.
Most of you have never heard of me.
I did my part. I got it.
And most likely have never heard of most of us here.
I'm scared and sad and hurting too. I am you, and I just want someone to help me too. Thank you, guys.
I would like to introduce, I'm proud to introduce, Miss Breanne Dressen.
I don't know where to go. Her cause of death, her actual cause of death is not on this thing.
Thanks for returning my call.
And I did not want to be the one to give my mother.
And I'm still burning. Stomach issues. Everything started hurting.
Every single day.
The worst part was I could not walk. I couldn't move my arms or legs.
I couldn't walk, I couldn't move.
Shaking.
I couldn't think about moving my legs.
I can't feel my legs. I can't feel anything.
They're not calling the FDA, they're calling us.
You know, I don't want to die. I want to still live for my kids.
Blood clot in his internal jugular vein.
Next week is his birthday. You know what I'm going to celebrate his birthday at?
Why it is the responsibility of sick people to do this is beyond me. I participated in the clinical trial for AstraZeneca.
She participated in the Pfizer COVID vaccine trial.
They dropped me from the trial.
35 adverse events. Reduced to functional abdominal pain. It's a stomach ache. I wonder what else was hidden.
The truth is not out there. And it's thanks to these guys. They've done everything they can to hide people, to hide injustices, and to even literally hide the cries of those people that are suffering.
If we try to talk about it on social media, you get banned. People don't know we even exist.
Denise Hertz is on an email string with the heads of the NIH.
These are safe and effective products.
The CDC.
There is no bad time to get your second shot.
The heads of the FDA.
We have very good safety surveillance systems in place.
If you look at VAERS database, there are more than 1,000 neurological side effects already reported.
None of us are denying that there's potential vaccine injury here.
We already have 1,200 people who've died.
And that's in about 2 months of availability.
For these mRNA vaccines, there is incredible BS out there about thousands of people dying, etc. That just ain't true.
This stack of patients are patients that are stuck.
There were 50 to 100 reports going missing. I mean, VAERS IDs being disappeared.
If they put down that it was a vaccine injury, they actually won't get reimbursed, so it gets labeled as anxiety.
Diagnosed with vertigo, severe panic attack.
Functional neurologic disorder.
Factitious disorder. So basically, she was making it up.
I was muffled. I was told I was wrong. I was told to go home, and I was told not to talk.
These are human lives. They're just going to stay in limbo forever.
There was a whistleblower early on, Brooke Jackson, last year.
I contacted the FDA and submitted a formal complaint.
They're unblinding patients.
How many studies do you run where you take the placebo group and give them vaccine too?
I threatened to go public, no matter what the consequence was.
The government killed my baby. I'm not going to stop this fight.
I told my family that I was going to end my life. I got to look at my son and tell him, honey, I'm going to be okay. But in my heart, I don't know if I'm going to be okay. I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life.
It broke my son to hear that his mom wanted to die.
because she had gotten a COVID vaccine.
These are human stories. These aren't people with political agendas.
If I was an anti-vaxxer, I wouldn't have been standing in the freaking line to get the shot.
I just want my daughter back.
So this story has everything to be interesting, right? You've got scandal.
FEMA had offered me money if I changed my son's death certificate from enlarged heart to COVID.
You've got secrets.
The FDA wanted 75 years to release this data.
And what the FDA did to me was contact Pfizer and get me fired.
We don't have any secrets here.
You've got money.
A patent for the Moderna vaccine is owned by the Department of Health and Human Services.
And power.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
But the base of this story, the very center of this story is love.
I won't sleep until this war is done.
Because without validation, without love, without acceptance, healing cannot happen.
We can't give up.
Let's get you someone for your life back, okay?
And we can't give in.
I know that I'm on the other side of the country, but I promise you, you're not alone. So that's what this story is about. It's about love. I'm not going to give up. And I'm not going to give up on these people.
The documentary is called Follow the Silenced. It's probably going to be the most important documentary of the year. It's coming out in just a few days, and I'm joined right now by the director, Matthew Guthrie. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
You know,
Thank you.
we were just sitting here talking, and I've known you've been working on this for years. And documentaries, oftentimes, you know, they take a lot of time and a lot of work, but this is a story that just kept changing.
Yeah.
I mean, we just kept getting new information. It must have been impossible to figure out how to finish.
That it is, and not only that, I mean, it's the most impossible story to tell, you know, because it's a puzzle in 10 dimensions. And what we didn't want to do is, you know, we want to tell the injured stories, but I didn't think that if we made a film that was just going to document the stories of injured people, that was going to move the needle enough and really get people to understand what happened. I think the only way that you do that in a story of this size is you got to tell it from 30,000 feet. You need this much bigger perspective so you can see how a single story happens in real time. And I started filming in August of 2021 and, you know, didn't stop until, I guess, the end of 2023. So we spent more than a year in post trying to wrangle this story.
Yeah.
We built it the way that you would build like a thriller. You know, it was like strands of rope, and you just keep weaving stories around and weaving stories around until you can start to get this discernible narrative like you would do with any, you know, scripted film.
Take a look at this. This is just,
oh yeah,
this is your board, I guess, of all, like when you're making a film, folks, you put each little section on a card. Obviously, those boards were getting out of control.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker myself, that is, I don't even want to enter that room. I don't want to go in there. It's a murder scene unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was it like for you? These are really, really powerful stories, hard stories. You're sitting in and listening to phone calls with, you know, Peter Marks at FDA and listening to these lies right to the person that's, you know, suffering the injury. Emotionally, what's that like as a filmmaker? Did it affect your personal life?
It deeply. It's impossible to kind of state the depth to which this affected our lives. And it's not just me. I mean, I'm lucky that I have, you know, such incredible people to work with. You know, Mickey and Tyler Lindsay, who I've worked with for more than 20 years.
Mickey Willis,
Mickey
of course,
Willis,
executive producer from the Plandemic series. I think one of the greatest filmmakers alive today.
Absolutely, and I mean, honored to call him a brother and a partner in this. But yeah, Tyler and I, we spent so much time away from our families, away from anybody in our life. I mean, this was all that we've done day in, day in, day, 18 hours a day for, what, 4 years now?
Yeah.
But, you know, making this story, I mean, when I first started this, these were people that nobody had talked to them. Everybody had just shut them down and ignored them. So most everybody, when I found them, they were locked away in their homes and they wouldn't talk to anybody. They would talk to me. I was just able to kind of get through to them, and they're like, okay, I'll talk to you. Let's give this a shot. So when I showed up and started talking to them, for some people, this was like the first time that they were telling their stories. It was deeply emotional. I sat and cried with every single one of these people, you know, and I can't even, the amount of gallons and buckets of tears and sweat and blood that went into this film, because it's in pursuit of truth. That's what we all care about. And you know, I keep saying this whole time that I've been doing this, that the truth matters no matter what it costs. And we didn't care what it cost us to tell this story, because we painstakingly made sure that every nanosecond of this movie is truth.
What is this documentary doing that we haven't seen yet?
It's giving you the whole story. It's not just giving you because when you follow Bree's story, which Bree was one of the first people that I found.
Who's been on this show many times. React 19, an incredible nonprofit group working to heal other people dealing with this issue. She's just a rock star, dealing with her own injury, you know, from COVID, yet just unstoppable, trying to make a difference for so many people. But okay, so her story.
And when you start with somebody that was in the trial, that the cover-up started in the beginning with them, right? So imagine being somebody that's in the trial, you're injured, you're dropped by the trial company, you don't have anything from the pharmaceutical companies, your doctors are telling you you're crazy, nobody will speak to each other as far as like trial site and doctors are concerned, and you are left at a point where what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and lay down and do nothing and just watch as this vaccine rolls out and it just continues to hurt people? No. And then that was one of the most amazing things was the human spirit that we captured in this film, real raw, for people that were strangers, that formed a family, that stood up for each other, that advocated for each other. But really what the film shows you is it shows you what the government knew. What we were really fortunate to get access to was emails that physicians had, and this is in 2020. So as the nurses and doctors were getting the vaccine in late 2020, injuries were already starting, and there was a number of injuries. We have emails that say, and I quote, the agency is aware of thousands of neurologic reactions, right? So the various companies and agencies know about that. So these people were gaslit from day one. They're like, we want to hear this. Tell us what's going on. We're going to work on this, we're going to study this, and we're going to treat this. So vaccine-injured people that were in the trial, and physicians and nurses that were injured before the public rollout, were being flown to the National Institute of Health to be treated and studied for the injuries from these vaccines. Where was that in the news?
Right.
When did the public get to find out about these things? And then, of course, as a big one that we have in this film is conversations with the FDA. People are going to get a real serious in-the-room conversation with the FDA, with React 19, as Bree assembled injured physicians and people that had serious credibility. Well, let me go talk to the FDA. And the whole point of this, and all that they were ever trying to do, was just get things added to the warning label. They weren't trying to stop people from getting a vaccine. They just wanted people to have proper informed consent. That was it.
Yeah.
And all they wanted to do was say, look, you eventually recognize myocarditis. Well, what happened when you did that? Care goes up. Doctors and physicians can look at that and go, okay, now we know what we're looking for. So there were neurologic reactions that are staggering levels, and we have the evidence from it. We have CMS and CDC data, and we have the VAERS database, and we have the DMED database. So when you compare all three of these data sets together, you see the exact same rises. I mean, if you're
right, then that tells you something. I mean, it's repeating in different databases. Now you know this isn't an anomaly. You don't have some strange reaction happening to a certain group of people. At the center of your film, one of the characters that we've only touched on lightly, I would say here on The High Wire, we've done a pretty good job of showing, what a diabolical character Tony Fauci has been, to a lesser extent, maybe Deborah Birx. But at the center of this story is Peter Marks at the FDA, who is the one receiving these calls. I've said before, I don't really believe people are evil for the most part. I think they believe they're doing what's right. I hold a special little caveat for Tony Fauci. I actually think he knows what he's doing. I think he's dangerous. I think he knows he's injuring people. But after making this film, how would you describe Peter Marks?
I mean, I'm with you on those things, right? Because you either willfully are ignoring information or you're so insulated that you just don't know. But when you have hours and hours and hours of testimony, right, when you're presented with hard data from not only from the United States, but from Europe, right? When all that information is presented to the FDA, and the FDA does nothing with it. And that's the ongoing cycle is we'll get back to you, we'll circle back to you, we're going to look into this, we don't see a signal, even though there's thousands.
I mean, that's the statement. We don't see a signal.
That's it.
I mean, I kept seeing Peter Marks say, we don't see a signal. VAERS itself has, 50,000-ish deaths reported from the COVID vaccine, which would be the most in history. Now, whether or not they're properly vetted or we've gone through whatever, it is, usually 400 deaths a year. You're talking tens of thousands being reported there. That's a signal.
Yeah.
That's a signal, meaning deeper investigation needs to be done. For a scientist at the center of this to say there is no signal is nothing but a lie. How is this guy lying about that?
I know. Well, and it gets deeper than that because, you guys have had Deborah Conrad on the show. We love Deb. Deb's a hero. Love you, Deb. Her hospital system is a story that I think probably happened all over the country, right? So they sign a contract with the CDC. You're going to be a vaccination center, and in order to do that, you have to report serious adverse events to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, right?
Yeah.
And there is a contract that has all of those serious adverse events of special interest that we all saw.
Yeah.
And you have nurses across the country that saw these things happening, that were able to diagnose that as it's happening. So what's really interesting is that there are hospital systems, Deb's story specifically, they were given no training on VAERS whatsoever. They were given no information by their hospital administration on how to report these things, even though they're a vaccination center. The level that the government went to make sure that all of these tiny little areas and all these spots where information could leak would be silenced and secured is really impossible to try to put into words. I mean, you just have to kind of experience the film to see that, because that's how that stuff works. And to your point, when you look at 30 years of VAERS data and you have 1 year that is absolutely off the chart, so much that they had to make the chart larger so that they could compensate for the amount, right? And people would say, oh, well, that's just because there's a lot of people getting vaccinated and they're scared. And okay, but if you have an experimental product that's never been introduced into the human population, you don't know what's going to happen, you're using mRNA technology to induce an immune response using your own genes to do so, that's a recipe for things to go wrong. Yeah. I mean, that's why the autoimmunity is off the charts in the United States right now, because people are still producing spike protein and it's attacking their myelin and their nerves and everything else. So it's incredible to me that inside of a scientific experiment like that you're not going to collect all of that data. And that's what they did. They specifically didn't collect that data. Right. And if anybody did collect that data and brought it to them and said, well, what about this? Sorry, we don't see a signal here.
I mean, it's shocking because even lay people that never thought about vaccines recognize that you just rushed this product onto the market. Yeah. That you took an emergency use authorization, you yanked it out of the safety trials, which meant, and you told us, we know we're doing this. We're going to be very thorough on our post-marketing surveillance of this, because we know we are essentially turning all of the world into a giant experiment now with a product that we reported here had serious problems in the animal trials, causing disease enhancement, actually killing many of the animals. This did not have an easy route here. It wasn't a redistribution of a vaccine we've used before. So when you talk about like Deborah Conrad, to realize that you were supposed to be the surveillance system, but the people that were delivering it, that would have had to be reported in the surveillance system, were never even told how to use it.
No, and when Deb found out, she had to teach herself how to use VAERS. So, and again, if you don't know, I'm sure you guys, your audience knows, it takes an hour, it's a very long process.
And by the way, if the screen goes dead,
you have to start
it erases the whole thing, you have to start all over again. I mean, this is designed for a busy doctor to sit down with each patient. They think, how many times when it goes dead do you just say, oh, hell with this. Mm-hmm. I can't sit here for a whole hour. I'd like to be able to walk away, go to a patient, come back and finish it. They didn't even design it to do that. No. I mean, the whole thing is just such an incredible scam that you would rush something on the market and not want to know what was happening.
And you know what, Dale, what's really interesting is when you go to like the CDC website and you look at the little infomercial that they use to describe how VAERS works, watch that video. The very first 30 seconds of that video says the COVID-19 vaccines have been determined to be safe and effective. And then it goes on to tell you how to report serious adverse events.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Food and Drug Administration have many safety monitoring systems to make sure every vaccine is as safe as possible. One of these systems is VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. VAERS accepts reports from anyone, patients, parents, caregivers, and healthcare providers. Healthcare providers are required to report certain adverse events after vaccination. VAERS studies reports of possible health problems, also called adverse events, after vaccination. VAERS can't prove a vaccine caused a problem, but it acts as an early warning system to help CDC and FDA decide whether a potential safety issue exists. VAERS reports patterns that warn scientists of possible health problems that might need more study. Vaccine safety experts look for unusually high numbers of health problems or a pattern of problems after people get a particular vaccine. It's normal there will be some reports of health problems after people get a vaccination. However, most health problems found shortly after vaccination were not actually caused by the vaccine. CDC closely monitors all data, including reports to VAERS, to make sure all vaccines are as safe as possible. CDC and FDA use other vaccine safety systems to figure out if the health problem is caused by the vaccine or not. If it looks like a vaccine might be causing a problem, CDC and FDA will alert the public, investigate further, and take action. If you want to learn more about VAERS, visit vaers.hhs.gov.
Conflict of interest, anybody? You know, I mean, that's what's so astonishing. In her hospital system, because she was the only person that figured out how to report to VAERS, all the other doctors and nurses start giving her reports. So she's doing this around the clock. She's got a tote bag like this big.
Decides to make it a personal mission. I'll fill it out for you. I have the time if you don't have the time, and then the hospital shut her down.
And shut her down. And it's like, that's insane. It was like, well, if you're a vaccination center, you should be the most predisposed to send this data.
Right.
You know, and that's the other thing. The messaging around the COVID vaccines being completely safe and effective, no matter what, also prevented doctors all over the country from reporting things that didn't make sense. And they would get dismissed as, oh, you have anxiety, oh, it's in your head. It was like, no, my body's shut down, my nervous system's not working, my body's attacking me, and this started within hours of an experimental product, and you're gonna tell me those are not related? I mean, as you know, that's another one. Causation doesn't, or what is it? Correlation does not equal causation.
Right.
That's something that makes sense in science. It's a protocol that you use to make sure you're getting good data.
Except when you have rushed an experimental gene therapy, turned it into a vaccine, had no time to see if it has ever worked in human beings, and are rushing it out for everyone to take. At that point, you know, you got to use, you know, a different system, which is guilty till proven innocent. Every issue we see should be blamed on that vaccine until we can prove otherwise.
Exactly.
Because it's an experiment. You're in an experiment. You don't, the manufacturer doesn't, you know, isn't allowed to say, well, we just think that would have happened normally. But what is so shocking, Matthew, in all this is it wasn't really the pharmaceutical industry. It's not Pfizer, you know, it's not Moderna. It's Peter Marks. It's the FDA. It's our own regulatory agency heads hiding and covering the issues for a for-profit business that's making hundreds of billions of dollars and not listening to the people, not standing there for the people, but a part of this cover-up. What is your hope that will come from this film?
Well, and just before I answer that, to your point, I mean, what's the incentive to create a safe product if you are shielded from liability? Just with any business in the world, right? Like, well, so it doesn't matter if anybody's hurt. Nobody's going to hold me liable, so what do I care?
Yeah.
So what I hope happens from this film is, number one, these people need help. You know, React 19 is the only group that I'm aware of that's actually getting help to people that have been injured from the vaccines.
Yeah.
They're getting, you know, they're getting them help with medical issues, with doctor's bills, with being able to get treatment, to get these people out of wheelchairs. So we need to recognize that this is real. I think there are probably an uncalculable amount of people in the United States that actually were injured from this product and products and don't know it. Right? And they think it's something else, and they're on this
chasing an autoimmune disease
exactly,
you know, journey that's making no sense.
Exactly. And not only that, but I hope that we awaken discernment in people again, right? Because this blind allegiance and trust to institutions just because we want to trust them is not the way to do it, you know? And I think one of the things with people is we have a tendency to believe the things that we feel good about. So if we're emotional beings. If something hits me and I'm like, oh, okay, I register and resonate with that, I'll believe it. But if that doesn't fit well with me, if that seems scary, well, it can't be true. We have to fix that. That is not how you get to truth. And that's not how we're going to make this country better. We're just shielding ourselves from responsibility. We have to look in the darkness. If you want there not to be darkness, your eyes are light. Wherever you put your eyes and your attention, darkness cannot exist.
Yeah.
And we have to do that. And we have to talk to each other. I hope that people all across this country can start to heal the divides that they have. Because, I mean, not that we put a lot of that in the film, but and I'm sure you know, the propaganda that our government was a part of divided the American people, divided families and friends. I mean, I've lost lifelong friends in this process. And we have to fix that. We've got to reach out to people and let them know that we love them, we care about them, and that we can disagree, we can have different perspectives, but when you have two people that have different perspectives that come together, that's when new perspectives happen.
Yeah.
We just can't be afraid to talk to each other and listen to each other and have disagreements and still love and respect each other. That's not hard.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it's an amazing film. You're releasing March 15th is the premiere at the Directors Guild in
I know, it's crazy.
in
That's
Hollywood.
the first film. This is the first feature film that I've ever done. And it's incredible to me. I mean, God definitely is moving on this one. To be able to show a film, that feature-length film, the first one I've ever made in the Directors Guild of America for an art form that I have incredible respect and love for is amazing. So yeah, it's March 15th at the Directors Guild of America at 11 a.m. There's going to be a VIP experience after the show, and there's going to be nurses and physicians and people injured. There's going to be a Q&A. So we really invite everybody to come out, and especially if you have questions, because this is a great place in a community to just talk to people who will love you and won't judge you.
Is there a place to sign up? I know there's going to be a release to the public after that, or is there somewhere we can track when the film's actually coming out, or to a theater near us or online?
Yes, we're going to release in late April. I know we're going to do a Texas premiere. We're going to do something, I believe, at the Bob Bullock Theater.
Okay.
But we're going to have some more of that information soon. We'll update you as we get that after this festival premiere.
All right, sounds good. Matthew, congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Hey, it all started here in this room with you and these beautiful people. I sat in that control room and I saw those first interviews with those nurses, and then I saw Bree's press conference in Wisconsin, and God put it on my heart, and I knew that somebody had to do something. I just couldn't look away. So it all started right here, buddy.
And I'm so proud of you, because when people ask what is it that I can do, I always say you got to do what you're guided to do, but you got to say yes.
Yeah.
You know, you have a place in this earth. There's something that you're here to do. So many people just go, oh, that's stupid, that's ridiculous. What can I really do? There's people like you that take that step and just say, I'm chasing this. And so congratulations on getting the end of that. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you, brother.